Starbucks is the largest coffee company in the world, with over 34,000 stores in 80 countries. In 2018, the chain opened in one of the coffee capitals of the world, Italy. While Starbucks doesn't break out country-specific data in its earnings report and declined our request for an interview, the company does get some glowing reviews from locals.
Everybody knows the brand and everybody knows that it's good.
Preferisco Starbucks perché è più fresco, cioè una cosa più anche alla moda, un po' più americano.
Whenever you go inside, you smell the coffee and you see the interior itself, you feel that you're in Milan, you feel you're in Italy.
We know Starbucks, we know the quality, and when you travel, sometimes you just need to stay in the comfortable option.
Italy's $7 billion cafe market is the second biggest in the world. Coffee is built into the fabric of the country's culture, filled with traditions, customs, and rituals. A few other American brands have failed in Italy. So can Starbucks find success in the country that invented the espresso? CNBC went to Italy to find out. The Starbucks we know today was modeled after Italian coffee houses. But in its beginnings, the company used to sell whole bean coffee and tea from a few stores in Seattle. 10 years later, Howard Schultz, the company's marketing director at the time, took a trip to Milan and was captivated by the Italian coffeehouse experience of making an espresso. When he returned to Seattle, he persuaded the company to model Starbucks after Milan's unique coffeehouse culture. The concept took off, and in 1987, the original founders sold the company to Schultz for $3.8 million. It wasn't until 2018 that Starbucks opened its first store in the country that inspired it, a 25,000 square foot roastery in Milan. It features an in-house coffee roaster, a bakery with a wood-fired oven, and augmented reality configured walls. It was the first Starbucks location to feature an Arrabbiamo bar, and the first to include an affogato station, which is an Italian dessert made with ice cream and espresso. When Starbucks announced its formal plans to open in Milan in 2016, the company planted 42 palm trees in the historic Piazza del Duomo to revitalize the space in celebration. Locals protested, and a few set fire to a cluster of the trees in the middle of the night. Matteo Salvini, leader of the Northern League, accused Starbucks of appealing to illegal African immigrants. In a statement, the company said, "Our intention for this project has always been to demonstrate our respect and gratitude to the city of Milan, which has so greatly inspired Starbucks over the years." To date, Starbucks has 20 locations in Italy, all owned and operated by its Italian licensee, Percassi. The firm manages stores across retail, food and beverage, and cosmetics in over 23 countries. Percassi also franchises Victoria's Secret stores across Italy. Italy remains a small portion of Starbucks' portfolio. Revenue from licensed stores accounted for 9% of Starbucks' total net revenue in the third quarter of 2022. In an earnings call in August of 2022, the company said, "Given the success we are enjoying in Milan, we are now planning to open in Rome and in Florence." It took Starbucks 47 years to open shop in Italy. Coffee is very important in Italian culture. The Italian coffee market is worth $11.8 billion, and about 14 billion espressos are consumed each year. In the south of Italy, it's tradition to buy two coffees, one for you and one for a stranger. There are other unwritten rules and customs that can be harder for a large, international chain to abide by. Italians go to coffee houses for leisure. It's common to get a coffee, quickly drink it at the counter, and leave. It's also personal and intimate. Many baristas know their customers by name. Unlike Starbucks, customers don't typically sit for a while or work on their laptops. And Starbucks is known for getting its customers' names wrong.
When you go to a cafe in Italy, this is a moment of social exchange. This is a moment in which you want to spend time with your colleagues. Maybe you want to take 5 more meals before going back to work after lunch. Or maybe it's a moment in which you just want to drink a coffee al volo, a short espresso, not a jumbo mug of coffee. And You have a brief exchange with the barista about how your soccer team did the day before and things like that.
The typical order at a coffee bar in Italy is much simpler than an average order at Starbucks. It's custom to order a caffè, which is a strong shot of espresso.
The consensus is that in the morning you would have either an espresso. Otherwise, for breakfast, another favorite option is for sure cappuccino. After noon, you would not ask for a cappuccino, for example. That is considered a sort of blasphemy by many people in Italy.
Milan has some of the cheapest coffee in the world, according to one study. The average for a cappuccino is about €1.30, compared to €4.50 at Starbucks. This was a big enough issue that even an Italian consumer group filed a complaint in 2018. Despite the challenges, Starbucks has beat the odds in Italy and is even considering expanding. To ensure a smooth transition into uncharted territory, the company partnered with an Italian brand manager and other local businesses.
Finding the best franchisees is just so critical because they're executing the business locally and they're so desperately needed to really execute the brand well, but they're just difficult to find.
Starbucks worked with local craftsmen and Italian materials to adapt the design of its shop to fit the culture. The architecture echoes Milan's extravagant use of colors, textures, and materials with intense attention to detail. The chain also partnered with an Italian baker to adapt its menu to local tastes. Some believe the taste profile of Starbucks coffee is similar to that of Italian coffee. The chain sources Arabica beans from 30 countries around the world. It's a darker, smoother roast compared to the typical American coffee, which is often regarded as weak.
When I went to the roastery in Milan, I wanted to try it. I immensely enjoyed the coffee I had there. It was perfect. Also, the cappuccino was nice and creamy. The temperature was perfect. It wasn't burned. It tasted precisely like an Italian coffee should, and I would say a good Italian coffee.
Il caffè da Starbucks è buono anche perché ci sono anche altre varietà.
Secondo me questo negozio ha una location unica, un layout interno unico, un ambiente che è particolarmente bello ed è un posto piacevole dove bersi un caffè, diciamo.
Starbucks è qualcosa di particolarissimo che non assomiglia a nessuna esperienza da bar che si possa avere probabilmente a Milano.
But not everyone agrees.
Io non lo berrei mai, neanche il mio. Annacquato, cosa mi bevo? Un caffè annacquato.
Il caffè di Starbucks è un caffè più acquoso, diciamo, più diluito.
Dedicarsi più sulla loro linea rispetto a copiare il caffè classico italiano, espresso.
Many Italian customers go to Starbucks for the unique experience. There's a widespread view online that Starbucks is seen as exotic to international customers. And in a high-fashion city such as Milan, holding a Starbucks cup can give a sense of status. Tourism could be a big driver behind the chain's sales. Tourists are more likely to shop at brands they recognize. About 95 million tourists arrived in Italy in 2019. Other brands have had a harder time finding success in the country. Domino's, Ben & Jerry's, and Häagen-Dazs all failed.
One of the biggest missing pieces is to really understand the competitive landscape. And the competitive landscape in most of our European countries is not another chain.
The company said it plans to open 5 more Starbucks locations in Italy by the end of 2022.